Uh, Characteristic traits, divine characteristic traits, things to look for, especially within yourself or anybody that you come into contact with. If you're trying to, hold on, anyone you come into contact with that you might find inspiration in, or somebody in your neighborhood, these are some characteristic traits you can look forward to as good qualities in an individual. And to master these characteristic traits just puts you in a position to show somebody else that. But overall, in that, you get a chance to compile all these characteristics into one. I believe they stand out within divine pretense. So this is why I'm speaking towards these specific characteristic traits. Consistency. Consistency is a great characteristic trait. I see it in a lot of good brothers that are talking knowledge, especially a brother like what's his name? I want to say Dan Calloway, but nah, I wasn't specifically speaking on him. I was speaking on Billy Carson. Billy Carson, he's a good, cause he's been consistent for years on his ideal of spirituality and his foresight of seeing. And he's also been very good with his first thought activities. You can look into his breakdowns about his mission and you can see that. So look up Billy Carson, man. He has a good characteristic of consistency, you know what I mean, as a person who would embody that, you know what I mean. That was the first time I actually seen it that strong in an individual. So shout out to Billy Carson. Compassion, you know what I'm saying? Compassion is another characteristic that you want to look for, because compassion is you keeping your word. So when you keep your word, you know what I mean, you actually strengthen that feeling within yourself, and then you actually give that love to someone else because you are a person of your word. So compassion and having compassion for yourself allows you to keep your word, and that's a trait that I think everybody should look out for. But you know, they're very few and far between. My uncle like that, but ain't too many people I know like that. You know, just one, my uncle like that. Like, he has a few of these qualities for the most part, but I haven't seen them in a lot of people. And discipline. Discipline is a great quality you want to see in somebody, you know, especially you want to have for yourself, because you're going to have to learn to put down things and pick up things. You're going to have to learn to strengthen yourself in the right direction. And particularly, a lot of these directions might not be what you think they are, you know, so just don't run off in the wrong direction fighting for the wrong thing because it feels a little easier. You know what I mean? You got to find that level of discipline that's going to work you to where you can understand what's going on, you know what I'm saying, or where you changing for the better off of the vibrations, and you know, whatever you getting, however you get in there, you know, what works for you, as long as it's divine. Focus is another character. You know, people who have good focus can teach you, and I think focus is particular to discipline and consistency. You know what I mean? You got to have a level of focus just to stay in those particular values. And practicing on focus, I particularly used to do things like look at a candle. Hold on for 1 second. I personally used to do certain things of focus, like look at candles, stare at, because you can look through your eyelids, and if I focus hard enough, it's almost like I can see the molecule of the eyelid, and I'll stare at that for hours. You know what I mean? Like, just to focus. You know what I'm saying? So my level of focus is acute to certain particular things, like focusing harder, like meditation. So since I was able to focus on small, insignificant things, or put my eyesight on a bee and just watch it on a flower, you know what I mean? Or just stare at a hummingbird, you know what I mean? Like, put your focus and watch the wings, even though they're moving real fast. Try to watch them. Try to see if you can watch one wing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. My mind is apt like that. So I built focus in a different way. So I want to credit myself to focus, because I do put a lot of focus into a lot of things. And unconditional love. I haven't met nobody who practices unconditional love. I haven't met nobody myself. I'm practicing it and I'm teaching people the best way I can, you know what I mean? And I'm going forward with it. I failed at it in the past, but I've been doing better with it as I going through into the future with practicing unconditional love and having that value for myself and others. So unconditional love itself is having love without conditions. Um, all these traits opposed to unconditional love are actually potentials of unconditional love. There are tree branches or root branches, so I may say, of unconditional love. They all can fit in there somewhere because you have to be all of those in one. So I cannot not say that I don't have all of those. You know what I mean? Because with more resources and more fulfillment in how I like to see things fit, I think I'm apt to fulfill those values because I have particulars that a way I like to move, and that just comes with the wisdom that I've compiled over the years. But ultimately, watching individuals who have these certain characteristic traits in divine principle will help you through your life. You know what I mean? If you're looking towards or for someone who carries these particular values, or you want these particular values for yourself when searching spirituality, because overall it's what you're trying to lock down, right? The higher version of yourself. So you're going to have these characteristic traits. And moreover, you have to be consistent with yourself, because you can't tell yourself you're going to do something and you don't do it. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to be a person that puts out content, you have to be consistent, right? If you're a person that farms, or you have to be consistent in everything you do. You work out, you know what I mean? That's just, consistency is something that has to happen. Regardless what it is you do, it's something that you have to do. And being compassionate to yourself, keeping your word. If you want the spirituality, you have to hold your word to that. And when you are in these different spaces, you have to replace it from what you used to put in there with spirituality. That's a good practice, you know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes I forget, and instead of praying, I just say divine like 100,000 times, or the Most High. I'll repeat the name so many times, and I'll just be sitting there saying it in a low tone or in my head. And I don't know, it does things for me particularly. I can't say that works for everybody else, but discipline, focus, and unconditional love. Having discipline for yourself to stay in something that you choose, and having the focus to study it on a larger scale, and having the love for it enough to put down and pick up when need be. Unconditional love is being accepting to everything. You know what I mean? And not accepting to where you're hurting yourself, but accepting to the point of the matter, and having an open mind and an open heart to understand someone else's point of view. So just that point in itself, it speaks volumes as far as what characteristic traits you may be looking for in yourself or in someone else when you're trying to gain spirituality. Look, I ain't gonna hold y'all. I just wanted to bring this message about characteristics. So master those characteristics. You already know the vibes. NAGA.